Good evening, here are tonight's top stories. Police are investigating the death of Navan Ramnaut at Splashmin Resort. AUS. Citizen wanted for murder has been arrested in Georgetown. Authorities are looking into a fatal accident on the west coast of Burbus. An Albuistown resident has been remanded for the attempted murder of a 6-year-old boy. Ian Fagundes has been charged with possession of an unlicensed firearm and ammo and remanded to prison. The AFC is calling for the reinstatement of a 2 a.m. curfew to reduce road fatalities. Armed bandits have attacked and robbed a Lima Sands businessman and his family. Alleged chicken smuggler Naresh Ramjatan is hospitalized after a shooting incident. The family of Michael Sumer is frustrated by the lack of updates in the home invasion murder investigation. The trial into alleged election rigging begins, with Minister Sonia Parag testifying. Stay tuned for the details of these stories. Please remember to like, share and subscribe to our channel for more news.
Albuistown resident remanded for attempted murder of 6-year-old boy. Marlon Marcus, an Albuistown resident, has been remanded to prison for the attempted murder of 6-year-old Jeremiah Gust, who remains in critical condition after being shot in the head. The incident occurred while young Jeremiah was sitting at a food stall. Reports indicate that Marcus and another suspect were exchanging gunfire at the time, resulting in the boy being struck. The second suspect has not yet been apprehended. Marcus appeared in court and was remanded to prison pending further investigation. Authorities are actively searching for the second suspect involved in the shooting. Police investigate fatal accident on West Coast Burbus. Police are investigating a fatal accident that occurred around 4 o'clock HRS on Monday on the number 28 public road, resulting in the death of 36-year-old pedestrian Canraid Lawrence Bacchus. The accident involved a motor car, registration number PAC 2353, driven by a 30-year-old private from the Guyana Defense Force, GDF, who resides in Fort Wellington. According to initial reports, the vehicle was traveling east along the northern side of the road when it struck Bacchus, who was lying on the northern drive lane. Following the collision, the driver fled the scene. Public-spirited citizens rushed Bacchus to the Fort Wellington Public Hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival by medical personnel. The body has been taken to Bailey's funeral home, pending a post-mortem examination. The driver later presented herself at the Fort Wellington police station with the vehicle around 8 o'clock hours. She has since been arrested and is currently in police custody. Investigations into the incident are ongoing. At approximately 16:30 HRS this afternoon, Monday, a joint operation by the Criminal Investigation Department, CID, and Special Branch HQ led to the arrest of Rakeem Antonio Gilgis, a 33-year-old U.S. citizen wanted for murder in the USA. The arrest took place at Lot 3451 Postal Housing Scheme, Georgetown. Upon searching the premises, officers found Gilgis' United States passport, revealing that he had entered Guyana on July 8, 2024, through Chetty Jugan International Airport, CJIA. Gilgis was subsequently escorted to the Albertown police station, where he was placed in custody. During the arrest, authorities discovered $12,000 in Gilgis' possession, which was lodged at the Albertown police station. Further investigations are ongoing as local authorities coordinate with their U.S. counterparts regarding Gilgis' extradition and the circumstances surrounding his alleged crime. Police investigate death of Navan Ramnaut at Splashmin Resort. Police are investigating the death of Navan Ramnaut, a 19-year-old laborer from No. 1 Village, Burbus, which occurred between 16:30 and 17:30 HRS yesterday, Sunday. According to initial inquiries, Ramnaut left home with two friends, aged 17 and 39, and traveled by public transportation to Splashmin Resort. Upon arrival, Ramnaut went for a swim. His friends last saw him jumping off the bridge's railing into the water. Shortly after, they noticed him struggling to stay afloat. His friends raised an alarm, and several public-spirited citizens quickly pulled Ramnaut from the water. Despite several attempts to resuscitate him using CPR, Ramnaut remained unresponsive. He was placed into a vehicle and rushed to the Diamond Diagnostic Center for urgent medical attention. Upon arrival at the diagnostic center, Ramnaut was taken into the emergency room, where Dr. Vandenberg pronounced him dead on arrival. An initial examination of the body revealed no signs of violence. A post-mortem examination is scheduled to determine the cause of death. Family of Michael Sumer frustrated over lack of police updates in home invasion murder investigation. The family of 72-year-old Michael Sumer, who was found dead following an apparent home invasion at his Phase 2 Hope Estate residence on July 9, is expressing growing frustration over the lack of updates from the police regarding their investigations. Sumer was discovered deceased with his hands bound, face down in a pillow, and his head covered with a sheet. Signs of a struggle were evident, and his home had been ransacked, with several items, including a non-functional smart television and his pension money, reported missing. Sumer's daughter, Shannon Sumer, voiced her concerns in an interview on Sunday, stating, "I don't understand why the police are not doing anything, and they have not called to say anything. I even tried reaching out to the officer. The last time we heard from them was when we had to take Daddy's ID card to them." Shannon further mentioned that a neighbor, who was the last person to see her father alive, seems to possess more information about the incident. "He saw Daddy the night. He saw when my son came and left. Daddy went to him. How come he didn't see the person who went there? I do not know why the police haven't called him in to question him. He seems to know more," she said. Michael Sumer had recently survived 2 massive heart attacks and lived in the bottom flat of the house, while his grandson resided in the upper flat. On the morning of the discovery, the grandson noticed the door to Sumer's apartment was locked from the inside. Upon further inspection, he found several louver panes missing from a window, through which he saw his grandfather lying lifeless in the living room. The police were immediately summoned, but since their initial response, the family claims to have received no further updates. The family feels abandoned by the authorities and is desperate for justice. They believe Sumer may have known his attacker and are urging the police to conduct a thorough investigation to bring the perpetrator to justice. As they continue to mourn Michael Sumer's sudden and brutal passing, the family remains hopeful for a resolution that will allow them to find some peace. Alleged chicken smuggler Naresh Ramjatan hospitalized after shooting incident. Naresh Ramjatan, a 36-year-old resident of Greenfield, East Coast Demerara, remains hospitalized in stable condition after sustaining 2 gunshot wounds in an incident that occurred Saturday night at the Enmore seawall. According to Ramjatan, he was standing on a boat when he suddenly heard several loud explosions and realized he had been shot in the leg and shoulder. The details of the shooting are still unclear. 3 enforcement officers from the Guyana Revenue Authority, GRA, have submitted written statements regarding the incident, and their hands have been swabbed for gunshot residue as part of the ongoing investigation. In a related development, police arrested 22-year-old Ganesh Ramcharan, known as Brian, from Beehive, East Coast, Demerara. He was found hiding in a clump of bushes along the Enmore seawall at around 7:05 a.m. the following morning, Sunday, July 28. Initially claiming he was there to catch crabs, Ramcharan later admitted he was hired by individuals from Beehive to transport chicken from a boat to buses. He was arrested and taken to the Cove and John police station, where he remains in custody, assisting with the investigation. Authorities are continuing their investigation into the incident and the alleged smuggling operation. Lima Sands businessman and family attacked and robbed by armed bandits. A businessman from Lima Sands, Essequibo Coast, and his family experienced a harrowing ordeal last evening when 4 armed bandits stormed their property and robbed them. The violent encounter also resulted in a neighbor being shot and requiring medical attention. Sunarain Turbani, 38, who operates a supermarket from his home, was restocking the fridge around 8 p.m. when 4 men armed with guns rushed into the yard. Turbani's wife was at the counter while their children were upstairs. The assailants initially attacked Turbani's wife, but he intervened, prompting the bandits to redirect their assault towards him. Turbani was severely beaten as the men ransacked the home. The family reported a loss of approximately $1.8 million in cash and jewelry. As the bandits made their escape, a neighbor who heard the commotion came out of his yard and shouted at the perpetrators. One of the assailants fired 2 shots in his direction, striking the neighbor in the abdomen. The wounded neighbor was taken to a medical facility for treatment. Police have launched an investigation into the incident, but no arrests have been made yet. AFC calls for reinstatement of 2 a.m. curfew to reduce road fatalities. The Alliance for Change, AFC, is advocating for the reinstatement of the 2 a.m. curfew, initially imposed under the former APNU plus AFC government, in an effort to curb road fatalities. This call was made by the AFC's past leader and former Minister of Public Security, Kemraj Ramjatan, during a press conference on Friday. The AFC advises that the 2 a.m. curfew which was in place under the coalition government be reinstituted. It would have avoided so many deaths on our roads, Ramjatan stated. The 2 a.m. curfew was often relaxed during holiday periods, which typically see higher than usual alcohol consumption. Critics argue that relaxing the curfew during these times undermines its intended purpose of reducing road fatalities, particularly those caused by drunk driving. The curfew also faced criticism for being anti-business. According to statistics released by the Guyana Police Force, GPF, from January 1 to July 23, 2024, there were 55 road fatalities, a decrease from 72 during the same period last year. Similarly, deaths resulting from these accidents dropped from 82 in 2023 to 66 this year. The government has enacted modern laws aimed at instituting stiffer penalties for driving under the influence and the sale of alcohol to drivers. However, enforcing these laws remains a significant challenge for the police. The GPF reported 41,358 driving under the influence (DUI) cases from January 1 to April 22, 2024, with 449 cases taken to court, resulting in 153 convictions. As discussions around the curfew continue, the focus remains on finding effective measures to reduce road fatalities and improve road safety across the country. Ian Fagundes, charged with possession of unlicensed firearm, ammo, remanded to prison. Ian Fagundes, 46, of Lot 25 Sandy Bab Street, Kitty, Georgetown, was arrested on July 24, 2024, and has been charged with multiple offenses related to the possession of unlicensed firearms and ammunition. Fagundes was brought before His Worship Magistrate Clive Nurse at the Georgetown Magistrates Court No. 3 on Monday, where he faced charges of possession of a firearm without a license and possession of ammunition without a license, contrary to Section 16(2)(a) of the Firearm Act, Chapter 1605. Fagundes pleaded not guilty to all charges. Bail was refused, and the case was adjourned to August 27, 2024, for disclosure. The charges stem from a police intelligence-led operation conducted at around 5:30 HRS on Wednesday, July 24, 2024. The operation, led by a superintendent, resulted in the discovery of a significant arsenal of firearms and ammunition at Fagundes' residence. Upon executing a search warrant at Lot 25 Sandy Bab Street, police observed Fagundes exiting his flat wooden house with a side bag. A search of the bag revealed one Sig Sauer rifle with a magazine containing 14 9mm rounds, one Polymore 89mm pistol without a serial number with a magazine containing 8 9mm rounds, one Springfield Armory .45 pistol with 4 magazines containing 5.45 rounds, and one Bravo gun holster. Further searches of the property uncovered 1 AM-15 rifle with 2 magazines containing 61.223 rounds, 2 Ruger 57 9mm pistols with 1 magazine containing 49mm rounds, 1 FN 45 pistol with 2 magazines containing 38.45 rounds, 1 Smith & Wesson 9mm pistol with 1 magazine, 1 Beretta 9mm pistol with 1 magazine, 1 Springfield Hellcat 9mm pistol with 1 magazine, 1 Canic 9mm pistol with 1 magazine, 1 Glock 43 pistol with 1 magazine, 5 Glock 19 pistols with 9 magazines containing 21 9mm rounds, 7 Glock 40 pistols with 10 magazines containing 18.40 rounds, 2 Glock 17 9mm pistols with 2 magazines, 1 Glock 9mm pistol with 1 magazine, 1 Glock 45 pistol with 1 magazine. Additionally, police discovered 75 12-gauge cartridges, 456.223 rounds, 484 9mm rounds, 83 May 7, 28 rounds, 13 10mm rounds, 315 7.62 to 39 rounds, 15 magazines. Fagundes remains in custody as the investigation continues. Trial into alleged attempted election rigging begins with Minister Sonia Parag testifying. The long-delayed trial concerning alleged attempts to rig the 2020 general and regional elections commenced on Monday morning at the Georgetown Magistrates Court, with Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, Sonia Parag, taking the stand as the first witness. The case, presided over by Senior Magistrate Laron Daly, involves 9 individuals accused of conspiring to defraud the electors of Guyana by falsifying vote counts during the 2020 elections. The The accused include former APNU plus AFC government minister Volda Lawrence, former GECOM chief elections officer Keith Lowenfield, former GECOM returning officer for District 4 Claremont Mingo, former GECOM deputy chief election officer Roxanne Myers, APNU plus AFC chief scrutineer Carol Smith Joseph, and former GECOM employees Sheffrin February, Enrique Liven, Michelle Miller, and Denise Babb Cummings. All defendants were present in court except Michelle Miller, who is currently overseas attending to a family illness. The defendants face 9 conspiracy charges related to activities between March 2, 2020 and August 2, 2020, concerning alleged efforts to manipulate election results. In his opening address, Attorney Darshan Ramdhani outlined that the trial, expected to last 6 weeks, will feature numerous witnesses providing evidence on the irregularities during the vote tabulation and verification process. Ramdhani emphasized that the testimony would address how the figures on the Statement of Polls, SOPs, were allegedly altered to favor APNU plus AFC while reducing votes for the opposition PPP/C. Evidence will also cover false declarations made by Mingo and the involvement of other defendants. During the proceedings, Attorney Yussi Anderson, representing the defendants, made 3 applications. The first was for the provision of SOPs, which was granted. The second application requested protection for the defendants against potential intimidation, but this was denied by Magistrate Daly. Anderson's third application sought permission for a visit to the Ashman's building, where key events took place. The magistrate stated that a decision on this application would be made during the trial. In her testimony, Sonia Parag, who was a PPP/C candidate during the 2020 elections, described the roles played by some of the defendants and identified them in court. She recounted observing the vote tabulation process, which began on March 3, 2020. Parag explained that the process was halted around 2100 hours HRS when returning officer Mingo announced he was too tired to continue. She left the building but returned the next morning to find that the process had not resumed, and Mingo had reportedly been taken away by ambulance. Parag testified that 2 GECOM employees continued the tabulation in the presence of Lawrence and another female. During this time, she observed Michelle Miller calling out numbers from box 4001 from East Bank Demerara. Parag's testimony faced interruptions from defense attorneys questioning the identification of the defendants. Magistrate Daly ruled that the case of identification in this instance did not merit further consideration. The trial resumed on Monday afternoon, with Parag expected to continue her testimony.